Hey guys, uh, welcome back. So in this part of Webpack tutorial, we are going to learn about loaders and how to bundle CSS and SAS files and how to get them into the HTML which has been distributed. This is the whole tutorial is all about that. So just to move ahead, let us first you know have a look about what actually loaders are. So loaders are nothing but these are a way to tell Webpack what should be the methodology to be used to to load a particular type of file. For example, if at all, so these are actually nothing but they are nothing but functions that take source as the resource file and parameters and return a new source. So that is exactly the same what it means. So like for example, if you can see that there can be modules and there might be loaders. And for example, for CSS file we are using a kind of loader called style CSS. For uh, maybe there can be a SCSS file also, like SAS file. It might be having multiple loaders to be to for them to get work. For example, for Jade files, there would be loaders would be Jade. So this is a quick an example of what loaders are. So let us first start with you know uh, the application which we had been built it so far. So what we can do is, for here what we can really do is, let me just go ahead and create a app.css file. And this particular app.css file would be having something called as, let me have some style on body, and body would be having nothing but background color, and let me give it something called red. So it is a simple CSS file. So what we are going to see is how can we distribute this particular CSS file into the dist folder, and how can we bundle this with Webpack. So for that, first of all, we should know there is a loader called CSS Loader actually, which really help Webpack understand how it has to load the file which has extension of CSS. So for that, what we have to do is we have to just install CSS Loader into your application dependencies. So I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to say npm install, and I'm going to just say css hyphen loader, and I'm going to save the dev dependency here. So once I do that, it'll install my dev dependency into package.json. Let it go over here. So there would be, so once it is installed, it will be seen at this particular place, that is dev dependencies of package.json. Of this actually the node app. So if you can see, the CS loader is installed, and now let me go ahead. So what we have to do is there has to be some way wherein I have to tell Webpack to use CSS loader to to bundle any file with extension .css. So for that I have to go to webpack.config.js. Over here, what I am really going to do is I'm going to write some code over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just write something called you know uh, I'm going to say something called module. So my module is going to be nothing but an object. Over here it will be having something called rules. So earlier, if you can see, if you had seen over here, it was called loaders. But in Webpack 2, for Webpack, the earlier version of Webpack was loaders. For Webpack 2, it is nothing but rules. So there are some syntactical differences over here, and it can be multiple, it can be array of multiple things. So over here, the first one is nothing but the test, is nothing but what kind of file you have to write the loader for. So for at this particular time, what I can do is I can just go ahead and write it for CSS extension files, right? This is cool. And then I'm going to use, the use is going to be a property which actually uses a loader, right? So the loader would be something like CSS hyphen loader, right? Correct. So this is going to be the one thing. So once, what we can do from here is we have already created a CSS, like we have created a static CSS file. Let us just go ahead and require this particular file over here. So what I can really do is I can just go here, I can just say const CSS, and I want to say, you know, require, and require is nothing going to be at this particular relative path. I'm going to be searching for app.css. So it is cool. So now what I can really do is, let me just go ahead and say npm run dev. So once I do it, you can see it is already loaded, and if you can see over here, even app.css is loaded into the bundler. So in my distribution file, if you can see, there is nothing called app.css. Let me see how it really shows on the browser. So I'll just go on to my HTML file. If I can go over here and if I search for something called red, okay, so somehow oh, it is going to be an app.bundler. So if I can go and say search for red, you can see this particular file, it is somehow embedded into the JavaScript. So if I just go ahead and open this particular HTML file and I open it into my default browser, that is Chrome, everything is working fine over here, but somehow my background is not coming on red. The reason being, if you can go over here and you just, you know if you can see my source file, the source file, my HTML, like all my CSS, it has got bundled into JavaScript. So any CSS is not recognizable by by any of the browser. If at all it is in JS, it has to be in somewhat CSS format or inline CSS chunks, which browser can understand as style sheets, and they can apply the styles as per that. So what I can really do that, so over here you can clearly see there is no style has been applied to it over here. So now what we can do next is, uh, there if to make this particular thing work, there is one more loader which has to come into picture, and that is nothing but style loader. So before that, I'll just clear my console over here and I'm going to just install my style loader. So I am just going to say npm install, and I will just go and say style loader, and it is going to be nothing but saved f. Yes, once I do that, I'll be able to get the entry in my package.json as how I've already done. Let's just wait for this to get, to get installed. Right, so it is now installed. If you just go ahead and see into my package.json, it would be nothing but my, style loader is also in place. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do into this thing, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell that at this particular time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Webpack that after loading it by CSS, after loading it via CSS, what you can do is you also have to load it as a style chunk. It is not going to be embedded into JS. That is not how browser recognize it, but to also extract it from that particular chunk and put it into CSS style chunk, like CSS style dev, we have to use style loader. So I just go here and say style hyphen loader, and I'll just put an exclamatory mark over here. Let me see how it refers. So now I just again go and say npm run dev. So once I do that, you can say it is showing some kind of error. The reason being, what kind of expression I'm using to tell Webpack that, okay, first load it by CSS and then load it by style loader, is not the correct one. It was before, so I was waiting for this error to come up. So the reason being, it is exactly the same way how it used to be done into Webpack 1, but in Webpack 2 what you have to do is you have to just put them into, into an array of strings and just keep it a comma separated way. So what I can do is I'll just stop the build over here, and I'm again going to do npm run dev. So now you can see everything is working and everything is, it is dispatched into your distribution folder. And if the once I go ahead and I refresh my stuff, you can see now the color red is coming up, right? If you can go and see into my bundle, and you can see here, if I just say red, somehow it is there present into an HTML file, and that's your HTML, like CSS chunk, and it is all, everything is taken care by Webpack, and this is how it is, taking care of all the child which is taken. So now on body you can see this particular style is there. So if you could just go over here, you can see this particular style is embedded over here. So now this is one part of it. Now let us just move ahead and understand how can we go ahead and work with the rest of the things. So now what I can do over here is, let us just convert, the HTML, this particular CSS file, into an SCSS file. So if I just go ahead and I just rename it like SCSS, this is nothing but SAS file. Over here I'll just, stop this particular thing. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to change my loaders with SCSS type format. Now I'm going to hunt for files with extension SCSS and not CSS. But for that, but for that, I also need one more loader, and that is called as SAS loader. For that, I'm going to just include my SAS loader over here. What I can go is, I can just say SAS, and I can say nothing but loader. But definitely it is not going to work. The reason being, it is this particular dependency is not loaded, this particular package is not loaded. For that I have to just install it. So how I can do it, I'll just clear the stuff out over here. I'll just say npm install SAS loader, the SAS loader, and I'm going to save dev. Okay, so now I'm going to install it, let it install, and let us see what happens then. Let us wait for this particular thing to get installed. If you can see in package.json, I can see sas.loader has come up. So now what I can do is, I can just go into my app.js and I can just say now include a CSS file and not CSS file. The reason being, now I'm using my SAS loaders. Let me clear this stuff out and let me just run npm run dev. It will pop up an error for me. Let me see. Yes, so it is giving me an error, and my error says that there is no package called node SAS. The reason being, SAS loader is internally using node SAS, so we have to also install that. So I can just go ahead and clear the stuff out. I just clear everything, and I can just say npm run node node, node SAS, and I can see save dev. Oh, it is not correct. Let's see, I missed it. Okay, somehow it is not showing me the right. I'm not using the right spelling. So let me just see what it is written as. So actually it is node hyphen SAS. So it is somehow correct, I guess. SAS. So no, it is not like that. Let me just clear the stuff out and run npm dev. It will just, okay, so let me just take, okay, SAS it is. So I'll just copy the stuff out, and I'm going to just see clear, and I'm going to say npm install this particular node module, that is node sass. I'm going to say save dev. Once I do that, it'll get installed. Let us wait for this to get installed. Again, the dependency would be there into my dev dependencies, as you can see over here. Yes, so you can see it is done. Let me just clear the stuff out for you guys, and I am going to just say npm run dev. And now when I run it, I don't think so there should be an error. Right, so there should not be any error. So now when I go in my HTML and I refresh it, still I'm able to see my sass file, and it is nothing but background color red. Just to make you sure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change my CSS file to blue. I'm going to save this. If you can see, it was running into watch mode, so everything has been pushed back again, and when I refresh it, it is nothing but blue. So it is very clear that it is using my SCSS file, that is nothing but my sass file. But moving ahead with this particular thing, now generating inline style is not correct for most of the cases. Rather, we cannot just create a different, rather than that we can just create some different files, and I can ask Webpack, I can request Webpack to include that particular file or style into HTML, and that can be a better way to do that, rather than injecting inline style the way it is happening right now. Even that is possible in Webpack. It For that particular thing to achieve, what we can do is we can, it is possible to inject, create a different CSS file or style files in Webpack, and that can be included into your index.html. For that, we can use nothing but extract text Webpack plugin. Let us just have a look at that first. So if I just open that particular thing, you can see this is nothing but extract text Webpack plugin, and you can see this is nothing but, you can have a a look at this particular configuration. Let us just quickly jump into the code, and then we can see out over here what all things, what all configurations are really given over here out. So what I am going to do is, I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to copy and paste the code from here itself. So for what I'm going to, firstly I need to install extract Webpack plugin. So I'm just going to copy this particular thing, you know thing off. I'm going to go to my code, and I'll first quit it. I'll just clear the stuff out, and then I'm going to say npm you know install. What is going to be the package? It is going to be this particular package, and again I'm going to say save it as my dev dependencies. So once I install it, I'm ready for things to work. So once I come over till the 10 it is going to install, I'll just explain you the stuff out over here. I have to just tell, this is external plugin which I'm going to use, like extract text plugin. I'm going to require it, and in my module rules only, I'm going to tell, like, okay, this is the way I'm going to use my loaders, so that it'll extract all the dependencies which are created out into distribution for CSS, this particular type of file, and that can be used into, and we have to again put a different configuration into plugins array, how we have used it for HTML. I have to just put one more array, and it would tell what should be the distribution file, what should be the file name which which this particular plugin has to extract all styles uh, in what file. So it is going to be this particular thing. So moving ahead, if you can see now, I think so things are done over here. Yes, it is installed. What I'm going to really do over here is I'm just going to copy the code from here. So I'm going to just say copy. I'll just come over here, I'll paste it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to you know right, I'm just, for this particular part, right, this particular part which I'm going to tell, I'm just going to remove this, and I am going to put this piece of code. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put this particular here. So here what I'm going to do is I'm just using this extract plugin, and here what I'm telling is use my loaders as SAS loaders. Then first it'll convert SAS to CSS, and then when CSS is created, just extract that particular part out from the injected JS files and create and style chunk. This is going to be into fallback. The only way of writing the code is different over here, and this is nothing but at what particular path do you really want to create this particular extracted file. This is one thing. One more thing I'm going to add over here is nothing but I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm going to add a plugin over here. So this is nothing but the HTML plugin. So now here I can just paste the things off. You can see somehow things are not. Oh, I guess now it is cool. Yes, it is cool now. Yes, it is cool. I was just checking for the parentheses if nothing else. So over here, even you can see in my plugin, I'm telling, okay, inside my distribution folder, there has to be a file created which should be of name app dot, you know, app dot, it should not be app dot css. It should be, yeah, so it should be app.css only. The reason being I cannot include scss file into my html. And over here I'm going to tell it disable false and all chunks. So this particular configuration, you can have a look at it over here, what it disable false. So you can see it is nothing but it disables the plugin post that, and all chunks of it, my extract all additional chunk to by default it extract chunk, and it must be set to true. So when chunk, so it is expected from the plugin extract. So this is nothing but a brief, what you can say, a brief explanation of what configuration these people are using. This is an external plugin. It might happen that at the time you're using this particular plugin, the things have a bit changed. So please have this particular thing in mind. If you have to just go to that particular plugin GitHub page and you have to just see how things are changed, because it might change if at all you're watching this video a bit later. So now when so now the things look cool for me. So now what it is going to happen is, let me just go ahead and see the code. Right, so I'll just clear the stuff out over here, and now I'm just going to say npm run dev. Let me see if at all it throws any error. I don't think so it should. Right, so now you can say everything is working fine, and now I just go ahead and see html file. You can see over here that it is also linking to app.css which we have just created. You can see app.css is created over here, and my index.html is loading. So let me just go ahead into a web config, and I just remove this minify for a minute, and I can just go ahead and okay, I can just know go ahead and say npm run dev. Yes, correct. So now we can see the HTML file in non-minified format. So I can just go into my HTML file which I had just opened. Yes, so now you can see a link is created over here, and it is also given the same hash which we had created for HTML. And this is how the CSS file is working. So now when I go to my HTML and I refresh the page, you can, if I go and see my page source, you can see, yes, it is also linking HTML. So this is the cleaner way of injecting styles into HTML. So hope guys you like the video, and if at all you thought that you have learned something good, please try and share, subscribe, like, comment. I'm open for any kind of suggestions if at all there are. I know I'm not perfect. Please help me grow if at all you think so you're learning. So thanks a lot guys for bearing me out. Thanks a lot.